Okay, welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. It is 5:31 p.m. With a quorum present, I will call the meeting to order. First on the agenda is public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? Okay. You can come on up and come to the microphone, please. Give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Becky Hebda. I'm the owner of a business at 1602 North 2nd Street in Wausau. Additionally, we live in the city of Wausau as well. I just wanted to give some feedback and thoughts on the RFP response that was received because I'm finding it a little bit confusing and I'm not exactly sure. In looking at page 13 of that document that was sent out from the city in the packet, it shows the property that's available going to DeKalb Street. But then on page, 20, it doesn't show DeKalb, it shows Pattu Street, Pattu. And I'm trying to identify if that's the new name of the street or if that new thing is going to DeKalb. Also on page 20 and page 21, it appears North 2nd Street is in the wrong location, at least according to what's available for the RFP, and whether or not North 2nd Street will be completely closed down, because on page 20, it shows North 2nd Street at the very edge of the proposal. However, it would be right exactly down the middle. North 2nd is there. So I'm just a little confused and wanted to make sure I bring that to your attention so it can be addressed at that portion, as well as the parking situation, whether or not these are right, if they're going to expect 50 apartment complexes there, in addition to mixed use and retail. The parking could be a nightmare if there's nothing that is below ground and it's all surface lot. So I just wanted to give that feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? No? Last call for public comments. Okay, then we will move on to agenda item number 2, approval of the minutes from the August 5th, 2025 meetings. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. I also meant to welcome our new member, Alder Tom Neal, to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you,
Alder
Madam Chair.
We're glad to have you. So, okay, so approval of the minutes from the August 5th, 2025 meetings. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the minutes? And if not, I'm looking for a motion to approve. And a second.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Alder Henke, second by Alder Tierney. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passed, then those will be put on file. Agenda item number 3, discussion and possible action on North 2nd Street RFI responses. Director Feifrick.
Thank you, Chair. So the committee's looked at this RFI, twice in the past. It was put out to public, published it, advertised it on the city's website. We did only receive one response to the proposal. We have Gizo here today. If you're willing, he could present and answer any questions that you may have on it. Really what this is a concept for development of that property. Public comment brought up some similar concerns and questions that staff had in terms of parking and layout. And my request is if the committee does wish to move forward with this, that direct staff to work with the proposer to refine the proposal so that it can be brought back. And at that point, we would consider if we wanted to move forward with that proposal. But I think there's things that need to be looked at further with this before we take any action that we're going to move forward in any permanent way.
Oops, sorry about that. Thank you, Director Feifrick. Questions? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Randy, I'm wondering if you could clarify about the street closing since that was raised by public comment before I ask my questions?
Yeah, that was contemplated as part of the RFI that we would potentially look at if the right proposal comes forward, that we would consider altering that street, whether that's a permanent closure or just simply refining it to pedestrian only.
So we don't know at this point in time whether or not that will be closed.
Well, what we have for proposal today, they're proposing closing that street.
Okay, thank you. I do have several questions. First of all, I want to comment that I've worked with Gizo and the real estate industry a lot, and I have tremendous respect for him in the real estate industry. I recognize him as a very capable person, so I just wanted to make that comment. Overall, the plan seems positive. I think the closing of 2nd Street needs to be addressed for the residents, and I have a couple of concerns at this time. I'm not seeing any numbers regarding monies that the city may be obligated to. There's a request about TIF for infrastructure, fixing the property and utilities. I know when Vanguard presented their RFI, they gave approximate numbers that the city might be obligated to. So I think before we move ahead, we should have some idea about that. Also, the purchase price proposal is $75,000. I did talk at length today with the city assessor, and Mr. Rubo indicated that the value of the entire parcel, with consideration of value for part of the road, would be somewhere in the range of $180,000. And if we take a look at the $75,000 purchase price, the proposal would only be paying $1.19 per square foot for commercial development. In the world of real estate, that's kind of unheard of. Mr. Rubo also indicated that the bulk of commercial developments in that area are assessed at approximately $9 a square foot. The Viking building across the street, which is zoned industrial, I think is $450 or something like that, and that's because it's zoned industrial. And there's one apartment complex, something flats, you know what I'm talking, okay. That one is assessed at a lower rate per square foot because it's a Section 4 housing development. But overall, most commercial properties are assessed at approximately $8.50 to $9 a square foot. So also, it was pointed out to me that 2 years ago, the city purchased a home at 1514 North 2nd Street. We purchased that home on a standard city lot for $73,900. The fire department used it as a training exercise, and then the city had to clean it up and haul away the materials. That property is only 1/10 the size of the proposal site. So I feel like for a purchase price of $75,000 without any figures for what the city may be inputting, that I can't support this. I also had one other concern, and that was the number of affordable housing units that was proposed. Out of 50 units, only 12 were for affordable housing, I think 28 for market rate, and the rest condominium. If it's my opinion that if a developer is going to develop this with private monies, we have no business to say what's affordable, what's market rate. But when they're requesting government subsidies, I feel like it's okay to express that opinion. And I think if this ever does move forward, that I would like to see more affordable housing in that development. But I guess at this point in time, without taking a look at the purchase price that's being offered and some of the requests, I can't support moving forward right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Killian. Other questions, comments from alders? Alder Tierney?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to echo Alder Killian's concerns, because I think, too, before moving on, we need more information regarding the money that the city would be asked for, as long as clarification on the parking and if there's going to be permanent road closure or not, because the parking seems to be a big concern in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Tierney. Other questions from the committee? Alder Henke?
Yeah, I guess I was wondering if the developer is here. I wonder if he had any comments or any thoughts he would like to share.
Good evening.
Thank you.
I will start. Thank you very much for the compliments regarding the purchase price. But before purchase price, obviously, this is such a start, such a beginning, and I am assuming lots of positions on this possible project will be discussed because it's really a start. And whether there will be 12 units or more units, I think everything is up for discussions. And I'm absolutely open to sit down with the city and figure out what is feasible, what is the city's position, and I'm very open to for that discussion. Regarding purchase price, I'm also coming up with that price, and I'm also open to discuss the purchase price, but also I'm assuming the risk that someone is taking to do that development. And if I look into the past about the precedents where city has done similar projects, where city sold land for less or for more, we can go on and on where we will find cases where land was pretty much given for nothing or land was pretty much sold for more. So I guess we can find lots of cases where we support or not. That's why I think before we decide whether land is worth more or less, we need to look on entire the project and decide what does it do for the city, what does it do for community, and how much involvement will be from the city, and then decide what will be the best for the project and the community. And I'm absolutely open to discuss this. I am coming open-minded to this, whatever the community or whatever this council decides, I'm absolutely open to that. I think today I came with intention to hear back that city wants this to happen. It's really very, very, very preliminary. That's why it's very hard to have numbers without knowing that where you are, where city is with that. And knowing that right now maybe this is the only proposal we have, and it may be other proposals over time, of course. I also know that right now we have lots of lots of units for rent built in Wausau, and I also feel, being an owner of several rental units, I feel there is lots of pressure because it's becoming a little harder to rent, because I feel pressure, because I feel at some point there will be too many units for rent. However, still not enough units, affordable units in Wausau. This is a very tough situation. We have lots of new units, but still not enough units under $900. So maybe we will come up with a concept how to solve this. The problem offering too many affordable units and then have also condominium units, when you have a mixed development, sometimes these people who are buying condos don't want to, we have to find the golden middle. But I'm absolutely open to discuss anything, so everything is open.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The parking allowance for 50 units would be how many stalls?
Typically we look at least a car and a half
car and a half,
per
so
unit.
75.
As a rough rule.
Yeah.
Typically, these end up in a planned unit
Yeah, and I
development.
think that
but-
this mentioned that surface parking was the only parking, and I don't see that anywhere near that here. Are you looking at subgrade parking?
Or looking maybe first floor of the buildings. Again, the draft of the diagram, that may change too, depending what the final the picture will look like. It could be that maybe the first floor of the buildings will be all allocated also to parking as well. That could be the case also.
That would be a good thing. You know, we generally like to minimize the impervious or pervious, which is the word, parking surfaces, you know, to control runoff and just, you know, for general aesthetics and you name it. So something like that would be a great element to add to this. Yeah, well, I'm interested in this proposal. Certainly, there's a whole lot that needs to be discussed going forward. So I would just consider, you know, nodding that yes, there's interest, and we need, you know, a lot more information, both in terms of the physical, you know, the look of it all, maybe some sketches of elevations, as well as preliminaries on any city participation that's going to be requested.
And I also think that if we move forward, then I will ask very qualified people to come up with a design to give us little clear idea how it could look like. This is really very preliminary. Also regarding financing, I think this will be a mixed combination. There will be a private money and there will be an involvement of the city. It won't be just one-sided, the city money. I'm not hoping that city will be just alone in this, because I'm considering that there will be several partners involved to make this happen.
Thank you. Alder Killian.
Gizo, thank you for coming with such an open mind. It would be my request that we don't take any action on this, that we table it. And if the ED staff would like to present something to us with significant more information, then we could take a look at it. But I think we need to know the kind of involvement they're looking at with the city. We need to take a serious look at the purchase price that was offered, because looking at the dollar per square foot for that kind of commercial space based on what other people are being assessed at, I think that needs to be reconsidered. So it would be my proposal. I would make a motion that we table this, and ED staff can try to gain much more information for us when presenting it. Thank you.
So we have a motion, but one, I needed a second. Yeah, so is there a second? Okay, so motion by Alder Killian, second by Alder Tierney. All in,
You can have discussion.
okay, no, we can have, thank you. Alder Hanky.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I agree with everyone, and you know, I'd love more information on this. I'd love to see the project go forward. Is tabling it the best way to do that?
We could, because really what we want to do, what I'm guessing is we want to direct staff to work with the developer to refine the proposal.
Yes,
Correct.
that would be my request, is that, you know, like I said in the open, that would be my request, that we work to refine this proposal. At this point, it's simply a proposal from the developer. We haven't had the opportunity to any back and forth on this yet, so.
Yeah.
So I guess I would ask our city attorney, is using the word tabled, is that the appropriate action for the committee to take, or is there a more refined way of doing it?
You can lay it on the table indefinitely, or you can lay it on the table to a time certain.
Okay.
I didn't hear.
Do we want to lay it on the table for a time certain, or do we want to lay it on the table indefinitely? I would say a time certain would be
I
appropriate.
would like to table it indefinitely until we get more information. That's what I would like to do.
Is that appropriate? Attorney
Indefinite.
Jacobson?
Table it indefinitely,
I feel that we can have this information ready for your next committee meeting. What do you think within the next couple of weeks we could meet and?
I feel if a city came back to me with clear requests, what city expects me to come back to you, then I can come back, but I probably need sufficient time to do that. And I don't know when is the next meeting. And it is also that I spend half of the time in Miami, half of the time here. And the next meeting, if you want me to attend in person, I may not be here. That's another challenge. But if I need to make it here, I'll make it here.
Yeah, I guess that kind of leaves it up in the air timeline-wise, but if we might need more than a month's time, so maybe it's indefinite is fine.
Okay, Alder Tierney?
I just have one question, comment. Not only do we need more information from GIZO, we also need more information from the city as far as the numbers that the city would be expecting to put into this development. Because we have using TIDs out there and information like that, but what would we be looking at? Because I certainly wouldn't give my approval until we have numbers from the city's part, or at least estimates on what the city would be responsible for. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that we could do that in a preliminary stage as we move forward in the next step. Obviously, until we get to a development agreement, those numbers aren't going to be defined in any type of agreement form, but.
Okay.
Alder Neal?
Thank you. We should also add any information on any partners, any funding partners, development partners, they're either as individuals and/or companies, agencies. We would need, some pretty in-depth information on that too.
That's understandable. This kind of project usually moves forward in pieces. It never comes like all together, because I haven't experienced how those kind of investments work. Sometimes you start and lots of people join and fall apart. But what's important, if we have backing on main part, and it moves forward, then usually you get people to join. And the main part would be have an approval, know for sure what is the portion that city is willing to do. And when you have this on as an agreement, contingent upon obtaining the other partners, then you go usually to partners and have them also join. This is how usually you assemble such a complex deal. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm just,
And I will gladly provide. Obviously, you don't start building not knowing that you have funding.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, once you start putting together your funding stack,
Yes.
I mean, that has to be identifiable in terms
Yes,
of who is
absolutely.
invested in that. It
Yes.
doesn't really matter potential future tenants in the commercial space. That's further down the road. But anything regarding, building this thing, the funding aspect of it, we really need to know who all would be involved in that. So.
Yes.
Thank you. Alder Neal, Alder Killian.
Question for Randy. Randy, isn't it most common for the developer to propose to us what they would like us to fund? I don't think the city usually comes to a developer and says, this is what we're willing to do. So we need
And
that
I
proposal
will.
from you,
I will.
Gizo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah, Alder Killian, I would agree with you on that. Typically, they're going to put in their ask for us at this point. So just to kind of walk through our process, our typical development process on something like this, it's up to the committee at this point. We received a proposal. We'll look for more information on that. If the committee wishes to move forward with Mr. Gizo with this, we would look at a planning option for him. That puts him under control of the property, allows him to do more due diligence on the property, architectural, refining his plans, coming up through that process, likely going to need a zoning change for this property. So we go through that process. He's going to provide some financials in terms of his ask as we move forward before we get to that planning option. But really until we get to that next step in the process, which is the development agreement, will we actually finalize and lock in those numbers, including assessed value and everything. But so it's kind of a tiered process, and we're trying to make this kind of a low entry level for developers that are interested. It's difficult to invest a lot of money up front with the uncertainty of whether the city likes it. So this is an opportunity for him to provide a concept to us. We'll refine it. We'll kind of walk through that tiered process. But all your concerns are valid and things that we can work through as we move this forward in the next couple months to bring it back.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Gizo.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So then it sounds like there is interest from the committee to find out more information. So what we have is a motion to table this to table the proposal indefinitely. The agenda item, to table agenda item 3 indefinitely until staff is able to work with the developer to refine the proposal. Correct? Does that sound good? And then we have a second. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Okay, so then that motion passes. And thank you, too, for the information. So agenda item number 4, discussion and possible action on the property redevelopment policy, also known as property disposition policy. Director Pfeiffer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is a continuation of our conversation from last month. This month in front of we have with the actual policy that is being proposed, including some changes. Per Alder Killian's request, we tried to do as best as we could attract changes to it. It's very difficult because of the number of changes, and really a lot of this is reformatting the document to follow what we kind of feel is a more easy to read, easy to understand as we're breaking this into the different types of properties that we may be working through. So you have your industrial properties, single family, you have your remnant properties, and then your multifamily or your bigger properties. So we did our best to follow through on that. You'll see there's different, orange means modified, red removed, and then new additions in blue in that first piece. But then once you get to, as I scroll down, page number 32 of your packet is a proposed new document. This would be what we would look to replace the former property disposition policy with. You'll see it's retitled Property Redevelopment Program because we're talking about both acquisition as well as disposition within this policy. So we wanted to make that clarification as part of that. With that, I will open it up for any questions and comments.
Okay, Alder Killian.
Sorry, I have a lot of questions and comments this evening. Be patient with me. First of all, at the last meeting, I did ask that this be fully reviewed by the city attorney, and I just want to make sure that that has been done.
I don't know that we've had it reviewed by the city attorney.
No? Okay, I think that's a critical point with this particular document. I do have some concerns. At the beginning of the new proposal, it states that properties that have been identified to purchase for redevelopment, not for public facility or right-of-way acquisition, will be taken to the Economic Development Committee for discussion and possible approval to move forward. I would like to see inserted in there, if there's a reason not to, you can let me know, properties that have been identified to purchase for the redevelopment purpose or that have been purchased for redevelopment purchases, if that phrase could be placed in there. Not only those that are going forward, but those that have already been purchased will be taken to the ED committee.
This segment of the program is talking about acquisition, so if something's been already purchased, it wouldn't fall under that acquisition category.
So where would it address that?
So if we're,
Any property that has been purchased for redevelopment purposes already comes to the ED committee, where would that be addressed in here?
I would say it's addressed under the disposition where we're talking about in the first paragraph there, that the Economic Development Committee is designated representative to negotiate and recommend sale or lease of city-owned land.
Okay, just so long as that phrase, addressing properties that have already been purchased for redevelopment come to the ED committee, I would like to see that placed in this document somewhere.
Could you clarify that further? Because, so if a property's already been purchased for redevelopment purposes, and we're looking to redevelopment, it would fall under the disposition in one of those 4 categories? Or is there something else I'm missing?
Well, I'm just thinking of any property that has been purchased for redevelopment. If you wanted to do anything with that, wouldn't that come to the ED committee for redevelopment? I mean, if we own a property and we're looking at doing something with that property, if it's already been purchased for redevelopment, would that be taken to the ED committee for possible discussion and approval if you were proposing anything with that property?
It's a good question. I think we'd have to look probably more at the process that was used to purchase the property.
Right, if it was.
So, yeah, one of the things we talk about within here is that, the resolution would state that any property being purchased for redevelopment or economic development purposes, would be designated that as part of the resolution. When you're talking about existing properties that the city owns being, if they were purchased for redevelopment purposes, but for whatever reason, there's a need to utilize them for parks, open space, some other type of use, that's a question that we've had as well in the past for different properties where, use the example of a development agreement we just worked on with the woodchucks and athletic field, where although it's a development agreements come through this committee, the development agreement consisted strictly of infrastructure items. So that's a question, something that, we could definitely take clarification on how the council wants to move forward, the committee and council wants to move forward on.
I would like that further clarified because I think that's important. A couple of other issues. I see that I think they're very relevant processes have been removed as far as disposition. I know it used to say properties should be posted online and/or listed for a 30-day time period before applications will be reviewed and decisions made. After the 30-day time period has expired with no applications, any applications will be reviewed on a first-come, first-served basis, and so forth. Why was that removed?
I don't know specifically on that. I know maybe that was something that we should add in under the application for individual residential lots. That's the biggest thing where we've come into the issues with the 30 days. But we do want to post them and give them the opportunity for people to see them and then submit offers on that. So that's a good catch. I think that's something that we can look at in is that 30 days for individual residential lots.
Okay, and just for an ease for our public to see what the city has for sale. We have a separate process for industrial. It'll go on the website and be shown to particular groups. We have for the infill lots that it will go on the website, have a sign on it, and do development tours. We have in this proposal that if there's an undevelopable lot, that a neighbor might be interested, they have to go to the GIS map to the city. It feels to me that common sense dictates that our public needs to know they can go to one site if they want to see whatever the city has for sale and say, okay, is there something there that I'm interested in? I know in real estate, we talk about not wanting to use a realtor all the time. Okay, what about ED committee checking in with Realtor.com? I believe I know with me as a Realtor, anything that I would put in MLS, because the public doesn't have access to MLS, okay? The Realtor that they're working with has to delve into MLS and say, these are the properties that I find that you may be interested in. But when I list a property in MLS, Realtor.com within so many hours picks that up, and they advertise those every day. So why can't the ED committee check with Realtor.com, for example, in addition to having it on the website, putting up signs, go to Realtor.com and say, is there any kind of a program that you have where the city could list all of their properties for sale so that people can go to Realtor.com and say, okay, the city does have something I want for sale. They don't have to go to a GIS map. They don't have to go to the website. They don't have to go see if there's a sign on the property. It just feels like we need to do a tremendous more amount of work to make this accessible to our public. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, we can look into that.
I wanted to ask one more question. I think it will be my last one. In the newly proposed property development document, there exists the language, in the case of a parcel that is deemed better suited to be utilized for public purposes after the acquisition has occurred, that property will be referred to the Infrastructure and Facilities Committee or other committees as appropriate for the ultimate proposed purpose. The statement says deemed, and the property will be referred to. Who is deeming the property better suited, and who is referring the property to another committee, other than the way it's defined in the ordinances? You mentioned city ordinances in here, and I'd like to ask the city attorney, does that conform with city ordinances, or do we have to follow the ordinances and refer to the committees that it indicates? Can they just without, who has the authority to do that?
You're gonna have to look at this and get back to you.
Okay, thank you, city attorney. I think that needs review, because the language which you want to add seems to me it might be in conflict with current municipal ordinances. So I would like our city attorney to review this. I don't think we should be creating a policy guidance document that does not conform with our ordinances. So those are my questions and concerns. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. There's a lot of things. You make good points on that we can look at and refine. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Killian. Other questions, comments by the committee?
Just to comment on one more item that Alder Killian brought up, which was the remnant parcels. That's one thing that we really struggled with, and how to advertise, for lack of a better term or word on this. It's something I'd like in the big picture. Marathon County's done this in some senses, looking at some of their right-of-way remnants and other pieces that, standing alone, there's no development potential or very limited, and making a concerted effort to either sell those to a property owner or find some way of disposing of them so they can become taxable once again. I would love to look at doing that at some point in the future. I just know that based on our current workload, that's a big project and we can't take it on right now. Right now, we're spending a lot of time working on our business campus listing. I'm really excited about that and how that's going to improve in terms of what we can do and how we can show that. So hopefully in the future, that's something that's in the back of our minds, of finding a way to get rid of some of these remnant parcels that we have, getting them back private property owners.
And I do appreciate that explanation and that information, Randy, but the document that we're dealing with tonight is such an important document, and I really think it's critical that we look closely at everything that we can do with that document to make it the most appropriate for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Okay, so the agenda item is discussion and possible action. Because this needs, the city attorney needs to review this, do we need any action to?
If anybody else has any comments or questions, otherwise we'll just take that staff direction work with the city attorney's office and bring this back as a draft. There's no time constraints on this. It's something we've been actually working on for 3-4 months now, so I'm happy to continue working in this and iron something out that works for everybody.
Okay, so we don't need any kind of motion then? Okay. Okay, thank you so much. So moving on to agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on sale of 208 to 214 Wyatt Street to Troy Engman.
Well, Tammy Strotz
Tammy Strotz.
can provide details on it. She's been working on the White Street property, so.
Yes, thank you. So we have another proposal for 208 to 214 Wyatt Street. Troy Engman, who's in the audience here, has submitted an application. It's in your packet, along with a preliminary drawing of what he is proposing. We took a look at it. He has his pre-approval from a lender to show what he can qualify for. We did have some concerns about the rendering per se because of the size of the garage. So I talked to Bill Hebert about zoning and how that works with the size of the garage. Troy does understand that if we would agree to sell this to him, he does have to get go to the building advisory board for their approval on that. So obviously we wouldn't want to sell it unless that happened and he got approval on that. He is requesting to purchase the property for $3,500. He does know that it's in the floodplain and there's some remediation that needs to be done with the brownfield grant. He has not asked for any financial assistance, just the decreased in the purchase price for knowing what it's going to cost to bring the property to where he needs to start building. So if you have any questions, Mr. Engman is here if you are interested in speaking with him.
Thank you. I just have a quick question before we take other questions. So it would need a zoning change or not
It
necessarily?
will not need a zoning change.
Okay.
It is
But to
zoned.
go through,
Correct.
go before the building advisory
Correct.
board?
Because it just will be a single-family home. That's what it's zoned for.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Questions from the committee? Alder Killian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did talk again to the city assessor today, and I understand that I didn't understand. I know we have been advertising this property in the past as 3 city lots, okay? And I understand that you now have it in 1 lot, is that correct? But I understand that that was done in January of 2024. So why was it being advertised as 3 separate lots before? I think
don't
it was-
believe we
it
ever-
was-
Yeah, so what happened was when we were looking at doing that sixplex on the 3 parcels were combined into one. Because in order to do that project, it required everything to be 1 parcel instead of previously the 3 parcels.
Okay, but when we were looking at the other proposal that came through, weren't we talking about it being 3 separate parcels?
No, it was one
okay.
parcel.
That was my misunderstanding then, okay. Another question is it mandatory now that the floodplain issues be satisfied? They don't have a choice of insurance anymore?
They have in order to build in a floodplain, you have to bring it out of the floodplain. And to get financing, you need to do that too.
Okay, I know some of the properties in the floodplain just pay flood. I didn't know
Correct.
if that was an option.
I find it interesting also.
Okay, one other thing I wanted to ask, since the purchaser is willing to take responsibility for any remediation, do we need to check with the DNR to make sure that we can transfer that liability that the city now has to the,
Right.
have you checked with the
There
DNR?
are steps of how we would have to have him take over the liability, if you want to call it. Yes, there are steps that we have to work with the DNR in order to do that.
But those questions haven't been posed yet.
Well, we haven't gone down, it's one of the chicken and egg things that we struggle with, because it's like, if I'm selling my property, the buyer comes, we agree on the purchase price, now we need to, we let him figure stuff out as we figure stuff out, the title company, all that. So we don't have the 100% answer right now, but yes, we're able to do it, it happens. We just have to make sure that we do it the correct way with the DNR, and how we report after because there's certain things he can and can't do as he builds, and they're going to have to work with him to make sure that's done correctly.
For me, in the real estate industry, it feels as though the city should go to the DNR first and say, if we have a purchaser on this property who's willing to assume the liability for the remediation,
I believe that's in the closeout letter too, because I remember reading something about that, and I was working with our environmental engineer about how does that work when you transfer things.
okay,
So there is.
I'd just really like
Yeah.
to see a response from the DNR on that, to know that the city's liability will be gone. The other thing that I wanted to mention was, we paid $19,000 for 1208 Wyatt Street, the property on the corner. The others, I believe, were gotten by tax lien.
Correct.
So knowing that the unimproved value of this lot would be about $44,000 and the improved value in the $50,000 range, cannot support a purchase price of $3,500. I would like to see a purchase price of $19,000 as we paid for the other lot, and then the city would be whole. That is my suggestion, and that is what I would support. If we can get a letter from, something in writing from the DNR saying the city has no more liability if the buyer agrees to take care of that, that would make me feel more comfortable as well. So those are my feelings, and I can't support moving this forward tonight until, with that purchase price, and until we know about the liability for the city from the DNR. Otherwise, one other question. What's going to be stored in that big garage? I mean, maybe Mr. Ingman can respond. Why does he need such a big garage? I have all sorts of visions for that, I'll tell you.
You need to come up to the mic.
Oh, and could you list your name and address, please? Excuse me.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The big garage, I have a boat and just looking to store some things in it, my truck and possibly lawnmowers, things like that, without having to put up another structure or shed on the property. I like to make things, build things, and just looking for some room to have that and just enough space to keep everything that I've got.
And will the exterior of that garage be architecturally attractive for the neighborhood, or you're not going to put up a steel building and not? I mean, I think the neighbors need to know that that's going to be something that's semi-attractive and fits well into the neighborhood.
Yeah, it will be attractive, and I've talked to Colby Construction out of Burnham Wood and just kind of work together to try to get something more with him as this whole process moves on.
Well, I know the city would like to work with you, but I do think we need some questions answered first. That's my personal opinion. Thank you, Mr. Engman.
Right.
And can I just ask you to state your name and address that for the comment? Thank you.
Troy Ingman, 1510 Lakeview Avenue.
Thank you. Alder Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the question of remediation of any environmental situation, it seems to me possibly that there would be minimal, if any, because we're raising the level. You're not going to have any subterranean, you're not going to have a basement, correct?
No.
It's going to be on a slab. You're essentially covering and capping. So I don't really see, much in terms of liability for that. I mean, you're essentially, by covering it and capping it, you are remediating it. So
I've talked to Bill Hebert, the zoning inspector from the city, and he said as long as you don't disturb that area that is contaminated, as you put over the top and don't disturb that, then everything
Right,
is
yeah.
everything is good.
it's not like you have to truck out, loads of, truckloads of dirt or something. So, okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, the site is closed at this point, but there are continuing obligations as part of the closure conditions, as part of a property like this. And those need to be followed as part of the construction.
That
Thank you. Other questions, comments from the committee? Alder Hanky.
Thank you. I'll just say I'm on the building advisory board, so I know what they're looking for, and they'll need something more than that.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll get to that, but just a heads up there. And then as far as the purchase price, I mean, I've sat on the council now for 3.5 years, 4 years, and seen us give away a lot more money, a lot more property for a lot less value to big developers, and heard multiple people on this council say, we're only doing this for big developers, we're not doing this for everyone. I think this is an opportunity to do it for everyone, and show that we're just as supportive of the little guy as we are of the big guys. So this has my support. Thank you.
I grew up in the neighborhood down there. I was born and raised on Lakeview Avenue. My son currently owns that house. That was my parents'. And my daughter owns my grandparents' house on Nowalk Street, which is about a block away. And I've got a 9-year-old grandson, and it'd be nice to be close to family again. And my other daughter lives on South 11th Avenue. So they're all pumped up and everything else, and so am I. So, my grandson says, hey, Pops, can I come over and help you build it? Well, buddy, we're going to have to wait a little bit. So,
So any other questions or comments from the committee? Alder Neal,
Has anybody made a motion yet?
that was going to be
I would make a
next, but-
motion to approve with the satisfaction of the two contingencies that we've discussed moving forward. So there's my motion.
I have a question.
I'll second that so you can go to her question.
Okay, so motion from Alder Neal to move forward with the satisfaction of the two contingencies, which would be the Building Advisory Board going before that, and the environmental, okay. And a second by Alder Hanky. Further discussion, oh,
Just if I could throw in one more friendly to the motion is, we are asking that he provides a rendering before we take this to full council. We talked about this, kind of-
Building advisory will want to see something along those lines too.
Yep, and the way it would work, though, is we would take it through council first, but that sale would be contingent upon building advisory board, so we just want to get something so that everybody at council can see what he's looking to build. It's a multi-step process, so
so would it be 3 contingencies?
I think so. That'd be my
Okay.
recommendation,
With
but
the 3 contingencies, and, okay, Alder Tierney, and then Alder Killian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not opposed to this with the contingencies, but I would like the city to take a look at the proposed offer, because we did pay a lot more for it, and I'm not saying that we have to get every dime back that we paid for it, and I think there would be some room there that we could work with that a little bit, and that's what I would like to see, is that there would be a little more work done on that purchase price. Because the city has a habit of paying a lot of money for stuff and not trying to get their, that back. Although I do appreciate that it would bring in additional tax base too. Thank you.
Thank you. Alder Killian.
I agree. I think it would be a nice development to have there, and it would be great if you could be with your family. But I too would like to see the contingency satisfied and more work done on the purchase price.
Thank you, Alder Killian. So moving, okay, so any other questions from the committee? Okay, so the motion to move forward would be then the contingencies. I just want to make sure I have this straight in my head and for all of us. So to move forward, this would go to council. To move this to council, is that correct? Yeah.
we would, so my following of the conversation is that we would look to satisfy the environmental concerns by conversation with the DNR, contacting them to make sure there's no concerns about transfer this property to a private buyer to construct a home on. The developer would provide us with architecturals. At that point, if both of those are satisfied, we move it on to the full council for their review and potential approval. Based on that, they would go on to the building advisory board, and if everything's satisfied there, we would look to set up a closing.
Okay, Alder Tierney?
Thank you. Randy, I still didn't hear you say anything about the purchase price of the lot.
Yeah, we can have those conversations in between if he's willing to pay more. Otherwise, proposal has been presented to the committee. You have the opportunity to say no.
We have a motion to, as presented, with those two contingencies met. So, I mean, that's where we are. So now, if it got defeated, we could look at, readdressing it.
Okay, so the motion is with the two contingencies. Okay. So let's vote on that. I just need to think out loud for a second. So if that motion is, it could be amended, correct?
You would look to get an amendment before voting on the main motion.
That's what I'm thinking. So, because, Alder Hinkie,
Yeah, we could always amend this at council too, after we have DNR results, after, after we have a rendering.
okay. Okay, so let's vote on moving the motion forward with the two contingencies. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
No.
No.
Okay, so 3 in favor, 2 against, so that motion passes to move it forward and to look at the contingencies. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other, I guess, the next up on the agenda then, number 6 is adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Okay, motion to adjourn by Alder Hinkie, second by Alder Neal. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Thank you.